All right, we are live. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to another Wednesday. We are a few minutes early because technology was kind to us. And so it gives us a moment to share. Hopefully, as you pop in, you'll say hello to us. And we'd also like for you to share this out with someone. Let someone know that Real Women Rock is up and running and ready to have a wonderful conversation. I'm doing the same thing. I am taking a moment out to share because it's important to let someone know that you know might be helped by this conversation. And we are going to have an awesome conversation. If you know someone who has some aspirations, they are looking to accomplish something significant here, we want to share some really wonderful stuff with you tonight. It's going to be a conversation. It won't just be a one-way thing. So would you not mind sharing this out so that we can engage together? I have done almost all of my sharing. I'm hoping that you share. And listen, say hello to us. Let us know that you're here. Say something to us to let us know that you are on with us. All right. I'm done with my sharing now. I hope that you are sharing as well. It does put us a couple of minutes early, but that just gives me an opportunity to share some announcements with you. So glad to be with you all today. My name is Trinace Richardson, and I am the founder of Real Women Rock because we do. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We exist to create safe spaces for women to do personal development work on themselves. And we typically do that through sister circles. Pre-COVID, we were meeting a lot in person. We have several sister circles that are functioning and meeting on a monthly basis, but we also hold virtual sister circles for our all access members. Well, since COVID, we have opened up our virtual sister circles to everyone so that no matter where you are in the world, you are invited to join us in a sister circle. We typically host them once or twice a month, and all of that information can be found at realwomenrock.org. Again, realwomenrock.org. We just had our last October Sister Circle this past Saturday, and it was absolutely amazing. I really don't know how you can laugh, cry, really be helped, as well as giggle a whole lot and joke a whole lot in one sister circle virtually, but we were able to do it. And so if you want to connect authentically with some other women, you do not have to know us personally. I promise you, we create an environment, we cultivate an environment that allows you to connect. It's non-judgmental. We come being able to share what women deal with. That's what we want to talk about, what women deal with. And so we invite you to join us in November, and all of that information will be on at yes, that's what I like to see. I like to see folks tuning in and saying hello, so make sure you say hello with us tonight. But you go to realwomenrock.org to find out more information. I am I am excited to see Rachel and Alpha. So much, so glad to see you all. So make sure that you say hello to us, and we are ready to get started. I am going to bring to the screen this awesome woman who has graciously agreed to be with us. And she's got so much going on: radio talk show host, speaker. She has accolades just galore, and she has taken the time out to be with us today. And I am so elated that she's here. Our topic is: it's not where you begin, it's where you end that counts, because she has written a book some years ago, but it is still relevant to where we are today, called The Sharecropper's Daughter. And that subtitle is: It's Not Where You Begin, It's Where You End That Counts. And so I'm just elated to connect with her. And so I would ask that you would share a little bit about yourself with us, Lyndia. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Trinace Richardson. I'm so glad to be here with you. and your listeners and don't know if it's the same sister circle. One of my sorority sisters, Linda Powell, is a member. Is this the same one?
I,
Or
we have a lot of members, so I'm not certain, but
okay, okay.
we can do the connection afterward and just check and see.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I am so glad to be here with you all today. I am, as she said, sharecropper's daughter.
Hmm.
And though I'm 69 years old, I will be 70 on May 6th next year, if God willing, as they say in Texas, and the creek don't rise.
Hey, let me stop you though. Let me celebrate that. You know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and say it like we say it. Black don't crack, child. You look
All right.
good. You look good.
Well, I'll be soon 70, and I thank and praise God for that. And so that being said, I picked cotton in North Carolina. That's why my book is called The Sharecropper's Daughter.
Wow.
When you see, on the news, people, whole families, my mom and dad were both ministers,
Hmm.
but they lived in the South on a farm. Now, I'm from a two kind of type family. My mother was from a side that my grandfather, her father, bought 226 acres of land in 1945. So of course he didn't like her marrying from the other side of the tracks
Uh-huh.
because my father was, a regular guy in the South and didn't have that much. And so they had 9 children and we all had to work. So
Hmm.
in the South, we lived in Kinston near Goldsboro, but always in the country,
Uh-huh.
where the farms are. And so when school opened in September, everybody had to go to the fields and pick cotton. That
Wow.
was cotton picking time. I would see the school bus and I would want to get on there, but it was nothing we could do but drag that sack through the field, picking cotton, the mother, the father, and every child that was able.
Wow.
And then we would go to school afterwards, when it was done, maybe November,
Hmm.
before it got too cold. And guess what? I was always an honor student. When
Wow.
I graduated from the 8th grade, before we moved to Washington, D.C., because things had changed in the South and the white owners of the farms had bought tobacco harvesters because we did tobacco and we did cotton.
Wow.
We did corn. We picked strawberries. We did all kind of anything we could to make money. And
Wow.
when we worked, we usually tobacco, cotton was what by weight.
Mm.
But working at the barn doing tobacco, the women made $6 a day and the men made $10 a day.
Can you slow down for a second? I am loving this. You all just don't understand the history, the rich wisdom we're about to partake in. And you're already, I'm sure you got it because you're hearing it right now already. But
Mhm.
could you just say that $6 a day?
$6 a day for the women.
Wow.
And we're talking about $15 an hour now, but $6 a day and $10 for the men. And that's why we all had to work just to make the father, the two older brothers, so that was 30. And then my two sisters and my mom, so that was 18.
Hmm.
So that's why we worked, but we had to work every day. And by the end of the week, there would be enough to do this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
And plus, as sharecroppers, in case listeners don't know, we ran the farm. Although this gentleman owned the whole thing, we had to run the farm as if it was ours. He would give us those houses that you see, those rundown looking houses, which my mother always made nice. She would make curtains and plant flowers and make it fabulous.
Yeah.
But they would let us live in one of those. She would buy those rugs that
Hmm.
linoleum rugs, I guess they are, where you can mop and the floors look nice. And she had plants all over the porch and flowers in the yard, and we always kept the grass cut. And so, anyway, she said to me when she was teaching me how to hang clothes on the line, poor people hang their clothes like
No,
that.
let me tell you. Let me
See,
tell
and we're poor as we were now,
we don't
Dr.
know
Tremaine.
nothing about people don't
She
know
did.
nothing about that now. Let me set it before I want you to pick right up back up where you left off, Lyndia, but I want folks to understand the question in the chat for you all while Miss Grant is sharing is, where are you from? And
Mm-hmm.
someone said, I'm in Baltimore. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about where you're from.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Where your folks from? Where were your folks living when they were hanging clothes out on the
On the
line?
clothesline and going to the outdoor toilets.
Yes,
Oh my
yes,
God, it's horrible.
yeah, yeah,
But that's what we had to do. And no, well, we had electricity
yeah.
sometime. I remember there were the times when we lived in homes and all we had was kerosene lamps.
Wow,
But in most of them we did have electricity.
wow.
And we had those washing machines, with those roller wheels on it.
Uh-huh,
We
uh-huh.
had all that. So this is where I came from. And
Yeah,
there were actually bears down in North Carolina in Jones County, um, out in, out in the wilderness area, the farm.
yeah. My husband's people are from Nash County, Spring
Hmm.
Hope area, Rocky Mount
Hmm.
area. So
Okay, well, that's not
yeah.
that far from my family.
Okay.
But now my grandfather's side and my mother, he's dead and gone now. He died in 1978, but he bought 226 acres of land, Dr. Trinace, in 1945.
Wow.
So that was 20 years before Dr. Martin Luther King and all of the marching that was going
Yeah.
on in
Yeah.
Rosa Parks in the 60s. And he was a little dark-skinned man, darker than me.
Wow.
So, but he had some good white people that enjoyed what he did and they believed in him, and he saved his money. He was a sharecropper as well, but he saved his money up and he bought a farm. So that's where I come from, both sides. So
Yeah.
what happened was, and I wanted to say that so people would understand, that my mother always was the one, didn't have a lot of money, but she talked to us. She told us everything. We sat under her knees
Yeah.
listening to her teach us.
Yeah.
And that's what it was all about, because she knew she loved her husband,
Mm-hmm.
but she had more on the inside about ability to teach her children to want more and to have more.
Yeah. Let me thank you so much for that background. It's so helpful. Y'all, so listen, this is about where you begin, where
That's
you're
right.
from,
That's right.
and where you want to go. And so I so appreciate you sharing and I'm just going to call them, for the sake of this conversation, your humble beginnings,
That's exactly
because
right.
so many of us do not appreciate what we have now and where we are now. And we will find the smallest things to complain about. I think about, at different points in times when I didn't have some convenience that, that we just become so accustomed to right now. And then you say $6 a day and hanging clothes on the line, and just remind me of the fact that we have it better than many of our generations before us. And there are some things that we've lost, I think, that we don't have as well.
That's
So I
right.
would ask you that. Keep in mind, you all, this is an interactive conversation, and we're going to get to where Miss Lyndia is now, because she's in some awesome places now. She's sitting in some important rooms now. But I really wanted to pick apart this idea of where we begin. And so I've asked you in the chat, where are you from? I've gotten some Sumter, South Carolina in here, some Lotsburg, Virginia. We've gotten some places in here. In addition to that, I want you to share with us kind of, what do you feel like has been lost before we move on to kind of the wonderful places and people you've met and things you've been doing. With all that you mentioned, I'm sure it was harder back then, but what do you feel like you had back then that we don't have now?
Well, I would say, back in the day, blacks didn't get divorced very often at all,
Wow.
because we had been slaves, and being sharecroppers families, you were not that far removed from slavery. That was the next thing that happened after black people became free. The white owners had to find a way to still utilize our services,
Yeah.
although it might have not been for $0 like it
Uh-huh.
was as a slave. It was you work for the whole year, then you get paid in the fall when the crops get sold. So you did get some money. But families didn't like the idea that their children had been sold, their wives, their husbands, their mothers,
Mhm.
their fathers. So the part that I really love is the fact that we didn't in the 70s. I remember when I got married and I was living in domestic violence, and I
Wow.
wanted to get away from my husband. My grandmother, who was married to my grandfather, the ones who had to be brick house and all the stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I told her, because my husband would choke me. That's why I use a headset, because if I listen to the sound from my laptop, it might not be loud enough. So I use my radio headset so it comes in my Yeti mic and it comes through good. But he didn't hit me with his fist, but he would choke.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my grandmother, even back in the 70s, it started right away. He was a Marine. And she said, we don't get divorces in this family,
Wow.
because no one had ever been divorced. I would have been the first.
Mm.
And so I did end up being the first, but I didn't leave because of what my family felt. We kind of separated, living in the same house. And then one day he just moved back to California, because we were from DC. We moved to DC and he was from DC.
Yeah.
But we moved to California for 7 years because I was begging to move to California because he had so many women. I thought maybe if we moved to all the way across the country to the other
Wow.
side, maybe things would be better. I was 19 when I got married, Trinae.
My
Now,
goodness.
you know goodness well, moving to California, how many women was there going to be there? And
Right. I was thinking.
okay, all right, well, it got worse.
Right. Yeah.
And so I ended up leaving and coming back to DC and
Wow.
starting my business. And so he stayed in California. He ended up, that's where he lives now.
Yeah.
So, but he left one night. He did come to DC to say he's going to get back together with us. But then one night he left. We had moved to a beautiful home in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him that if he did not, if he could act right living with my family in our beautiful 7 bedroom house and a swimming pool with
Wow.
the whole family, 2 preachers, my mother and father,
Wow.
then I would move away again with him. But it didn't work. He left in the middle of the night and went on back to California. So
Wow.
what we lost was people didn't divorce as much,
Mm-hmm.
although mine would have been understandable, because
Mm-hmm.
you should not live with domestic violence.
Yeah. Say that.
But so many families stay together no matter what. Because you heard the old saying, everybody say that's your husband,
Uh-huh.
no matter how bad he was.
Right.
And
Right.
so, and I also enjoyed the fact that more mothers were at home taking care of their kids back
Wow.
those days.
Wow.
Kids just ran the streets. And well, when we moved to DC, it was so different for us because our mother was at home.
Yeah.
She too had to get a job.
Yeah.
So out of our 9 children in our family, the last couple of young ones
Mm-hmm.
fell into that DC thing because they were
Yeah.
so little, and my
Yeah.
mother had to go to work. So she wasn't able to be home with us like she did. You know how I said we would sit around and talk and eat and
Yeah.
enjoy, and she would cook, make tea cakes and all kinds of things.
Yeah,
So
let me interject right there because I think it's you're making an interesting point, and I'm seeing the connections. And like you said, you already prefaced it by saying nobody should stay anywhere where they're being, abused or taken advantage of. And some single mamas don't have a choice; they got to work. And you witnessed that transition from your mother being there to when she had to go out and
yes,
work. But I think there's some credence to what you're saying. We can see a significant difference from there not being, both functioning parents in the household together, and being able to, to really just watch and oversee and take care of and nurture the kids as much as maybe
exactly.
before. And then, I know, Lord, you can take me off of my job whenever you want. No, you know what I'm saying? So I'm sure not every mama wants to work outside of the
That's
home.
right.
Some
Yeah.
do, but some would love to be able to be fully present at home. And so all of that does make a difference. And, as much as we've made things work and we've done the very best we can, I can definitely acknowledge that those are some challenges that I think it both, it's pros and cons on both ends. And I can
Yes.
see that.
Yes.
You talk about, you've mentioned some of it already. You've mentioned poverty, and you've mentioned abuse and divorce and single parenthood. I just asked in the chat what some of our listeners, what hardships they have had to overcome, and they're just starting to roll in. So you all let us know what your hardships have been, because Lyndia, you have named so many, and they're detailed in your book, The Sharecropper's Daughter. I would love to get your take on how you have dealt with it. How were you even able to make your way through all of that hardship? Where would you say you gained your strength and your endurance from?
From having two parents that were Pentecostal preachers,
Oh, okay.
having to be in church all the time, and I mean 2 and 3 services on Sunday, all kind of revivals every night,
Right.
just church, Bible study, just everything.
Wow.
And we had to lead services. We had to do things in church. We were the choir. I was the director, and the other brothers and sisters were the choir, and we could sing. And I still think my father should have taken us to California because we could sing like the Jacksons. You know how families have good harmony? He played the organ, the guitar, the piano, and he was our musician, and I was the lead of the choir.
Wow.
And they called us the Grant Specials. And when we first moved to Washington, D.C., he continued, had the church in the house until he was able to get a building. And we even sang on the radio. People enjoyed our music so much.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, it has been truly a blessing for us to be a family that sing together.
Yeah, it sounds like your faith and
Yes.
your family have been what has allowed you to endure all of your hardships.
Until I found this book called Think and Grow Rich, because they were
now we talk.
By Napoleon Hill. When I lived in California, I would stand at the bus stop and see people ride up with a Mercedes Benz or a Jaguar, and I look at them and I wonder what makes them different than someone else, and why can't I do anything? So you have to have a burning desire, which is the first thing that Napoleon, you have to have a desire to want it. So one day I saw that book, it was up on a shelf, and I had it, and you had it for years, and it was like the Holy Spirit just drew me to this one book out of all the books on the shelf. I read Think and Grow Rich, and I want you to know that that was the thing that changed my life forever, because it talks about how Napoleon Hill researched for 20 years to find out what makes one person successful and another one not.
Yeah.
And he said, when you learn these principles, it is like a insurance policy against failure. Wow. And I said, okay, I'm going to really hang on to every word. And he said, you will know when you've gotten it, when you understand that what I'm saying to you is on the cover of the book. And I kept looking at the cover of the book, and it just said, Think and Grow Rich. And I'm thinking, but one day I got it. It's the way that you think that makes the difference.
That's good.
You think you can do it, you can, but if you think you cannot, you won't, because you won't try.
Either way, you're right.
So everything I've been doing over the years, Trinace, has been because I thought I could, and I would do it even when I didn't know for sure. I would still try. Shaking and nervous, but I would still go because I said, I gotta do it.
Yeah.
And those things that were hard for me, because I remember at Radio 1, when we could still go in the station because we broadcast from home now.
Yeah.
One of the managers said, you are doing so good. He said, I remember when you first came on, you were like a deer in the headlights. But that's what we have to do. We have to try. And you will grow. Nothing, not a plant, not a seed, not a nothing will stay the same.
You talking good.
It's going to grow. It will grow into a big, strong oak tree. And then you can have acorns to come down, and you can even help others.
Yeah.
You're a big oak tree. I had to create a path that Nobody in my family had gone. So
Yeah.
it wasn't like I was following a trail.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go through the woods, cutting down trees and create my path.
And let me tell you, it is so important that you not only blaze that trail, but you also sat down, wrote about your life story. You're sharing publicly on your radio show, and you're writing and you're speaking. You are sharing your lessons learned, because somebody is going to hear you
They do.
tonight.
Yes,
Somebody's going to read what you've written.
that's right.
Somebody's going to check you out on the Washington Informer. They're going to see something that you've written somewhere in your religion corner or somewhere, and they're going to be inspired, and it's going to make their journey easier because you stopped in the midst of your journey and shared your lessons learned. So I really appreciate that. I heard you say family has been important to you and help you overcome, and faith, as well as this pivotal book for you, Think and Grow Rich. And I too, it was a game changer for me. It was one of the pieces of a puzzle that has really helped me move forward and change my mindset. So we would highly recommend. It sounds like both of us would highly recommend.
See, because it starts with the Bible. Because if you heard Napoleon Hill on a video, he said he studied the scriptures 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours at night. And when you know the Bible and you read Think and Grow Rich, you can see the scriptures in there.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yep, I totally agree. Thank you for sharing that. So in the chat, you all, we've asked you where you're from, because this is about, it's not where you begin, but we want to know where you start.
That's right.
But it's not all about, it's not just about where you start. It's important to know where you come from, because you can't even appreciate where you are now or where you're going. But in addition to that, we wanted to know what your hardships have been like along the way, and then what has allowed you to overcome. And so you can have this conversation right along with us. And so I would ask you now, we're almost at the end. I really want us to find out from you what your resources and stuff are, but first you got to tell them where you are now. You already mentioned Radio One. I was holding it to the very end. So can you share with us some of the great, what are you most proud of? What do you consider really great moments that you can look now at your life and say, I started off as the sharecropper's daughter, and all of the lessons I've learned, all of the values that I held back then are still with me, and I've been able to use it to accomplish what?
Well, working for the presidential inaugural committee, Bill Clinton was the first one.
Wow.
Well, no, George Herbert Walker Bush was, but I won't talk about that right now. But I did work for him, and we did get paid.
Okay.
But the one that I wanted to mention is working on staff for the Bill Clinton inauguration.
Yeah.
Me and my sisters, they called us the Grant sisters.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the transportation committee and working on the transport, and all of us had cars that had PIC on the tags.
Wow.
And I remember presidential inaugural committee, my mother looked out and saw those 4 cars in the yard, and she said, I'm so proud of my daughters. Look at all these PIC tags. and they would send a limousine to pick us up sometime, a stretch limousine. Wow. I even sent the limousine to pick up my daughter so she could come and help us. So, and then working on as the chair for the inaugural committee for Marion Barry, he walked up to me and asked me to do it.
Wow.
Coordinating the Georgia Avenue Day Festival and Parade, I was the executive director. And we started with less than 1,000 people, and it got to over 200,000 people.
Wow.
The Post said 100,000, but we know it was more than. I looked at around one year when we had D'Angelo, and I was shocked myself. I said, oh my God, all these people, if I didn't know me and my sisters had done it, I would wonder, wow.
That's beautiful.
It was so many people. Everybody was coming, the rich, the poor. You know, it had vendors, and Howard University, I found out later, it was part of their orientation to tell students to go over to Banneker to Georgia Avenue Day. We had become an institution, and we didn't know it. Wow. Councilmember Charlene Drew Jarvis, the daughter of Dr. Charles Drew, has asked me to create a a PowerPoint video that she's going to put in the library about me and my sisters being part
Wow.
of history in Washington. So I've already gotten it done. I'm just kind of waiting on COVID to be over so I can go meet with the people at the library.
That's,
And it's so many more things that have happened that
yeah.
I'm just naming some. I worked with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We did a bronze bust of him. It
Yeah.
sits in his headquarters right now. All of these things because of Napoleon Hill.
Wow.
And I met with Reverend Jesse Jackson during the time he was running. Can
Wow.
you imagine?
Wow.
I made so many phone calls, so many phone calls. He said to his secretary, she's very determined, isn't she? Tell her, okay. So we got down there and met with Jesse. And right now, I'm so proud. His daughter, Santita's my friend.
Yeah.
And Jesse Jackson Jr., before, when they were still in high school, is
Yeah.
when they came.
Mm. Yeah.
Jonathan, you said, even his mother came from South Carolina.
Wow.
It's just
Wow.
been so many things.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. This is what I love about what you have shared is you have your career, no, your personal life and then your professional life have spanned so many experiences that you have so much wisdom to share based on those experiences. And you've been able to stand with and fight for those who are impoverished, and you've been in rooms
That's right.
with presidential nominees and
Yes.
presidents. And
Yes.
so I would ask you, based on what everything you just said, I know one of the things you would advise or you would give us as a tidbit is that book, Think and Grow Rich. Is
Mm-hmm.
there any other for women who don't want to be stuck, don't want to allow where they're from or where they began to be the end of their story? They want to allow these next few years, these next few weeks, even these next few days to really count for something. What advice would you give us?
Turn on YouTube to inspirational speakers and just start listening to them for weeks. Let
Mm-hmm.
it be about a month.
Mm-hmm.
Even sleep to them sometime because I trained under Les Brown, but
Wow.
I even listen to Zig Ziglar and all of so many speakers that are out there. I would recommend they do it because what you have to do is reprogram your thinking.
Wow.
You cannot just change in a moment. I
Yeah.
have listened to thousands of hours
Mm.
of motivational people
Yeah.
who helping me reprogram my thinking. So I want you to know that you can have the desire, but not be strong enough because you're not listening to enough motivational.
Ooh,
Have books to
that's good.
read, but you want something positive going in your ear, not negative. Because even sometimes your own family members would tell you. I had family members tell me I wasn't getting ready to do nothing. So because you need a
Mm-hmm.
job. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, there's so many struggles, and we don't have enough time because I didn't see it's 8:28. But it's so much I could say, and I'd be glad to come back again.
I would love that. Thank you so much. This is so rich. Y'all, if you're watching the replay, if you just tuned in, you got to go back to the beginning because Miss Grant has taken us on a journey, y'all. We have heard about her. Literally, she's written a book called The Sharecropper's Daughter, and she's given us an idea of her humble beginnings and how rough it was for her getting married at 19 to an abusive dude, finally getting divorced, single parent, all of these things, her family, huge family, being the first in her family to break out and accomplish some amazing, wonderful things, brought her all the way to sit in rooms and work alongside presidents and presidential nominees. And I know I can share, not only are you writing in several publications in order for us to see your writing on a regular, but you're interviewing folks who sit in high places as well.
That's
And
right.
so we just really thank you for your journey and for sharing your journey and your experiences. It is for us to be able to not only hear from you but to gain wisdom from the advice that you gave us. So I would just echo that we should all be pouring into our ear gate, our eye
That's
gate,
right. That's
our
right.
heart gate, in, affirming positive inspirational messages
That's right.
that allow us to change our thinking. It sounds like the book that she recommended is Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
And you can't change anything about our lives unless
No.
we change our thinking. You got thinking.
And I even got some copies of this. It's only $10. Destiny's Door. Turning milestones into stepping stones. A foreword by Les Brown.
So let's do this, Miss Lyndia. Can you share where folks can get resources or where they can find you? I would love for folks to know how they can pick up from this conversation and hear more from you, read more from you. Where can we go?
Well, my two websites, LyndiaGrant.com. I wanted to be like Oprah.com, so I got LyndiaGrant.com. And then I have LyndiaGrantShow.com.
Okay.
So both of those websites. Of course, you could just Google my name and you'll see things, but you can contact me on my email, which is LyndiaGrantShowDC@gmail.com. But if that's hard, just LyndiaGrant@gmail.
Gotcha. Okay, that's perfect.
And my phone number is in the Washington Informer every week. I've been writing that column for 15 years and it's syndicated all over the country.
Let me tell you, I couldn't, it was so much out there on you. I stopped reading. I stopped looking.
Because I didn't even mention the African American Civil War Memorial with Councilman Frank Smith. I was the project director for that.
You sure were. I know. Lynette just said we need 30 minutes more. Please have her talking. Please keep her talking. Let me tell you, feel free to go back and listen to this. And you have the opportunity to get her is the radio show on every week?
Every Friday at 6 p.m.
Every Friday.
And I've been on 10 years.
Yes, ma'am. Listen, the longevity is here. You've been trying to figure out how you can keep the attention of an audience for years and how you can grow your audience. You need to follow Miss Lyndia Grant. I thank you so much. This has been a joy. What I love, it reminds me, because I'm going to say it because you just said it and you didn't mind saying it. And I told you black don't crack. So you look wonderful. But you're turning 70 soon. And I honestly don't think that we sit at the feet of and glean from the wisdom of those who have maybe a generation or a couple of generations ahead of us. And there's so much for you to share with us that we wouldn't have to make certain mistakes. We wouldn't have to relive certain trials and tribulations if we would just sit sometimes and listen and be poured into. So I really thank you for pausing tonight out of all that you have and all that you're doing to talk with us today. Y'all share this out. Thank you so much
for inviting me.
Absolutely.
My pleasure.
Thank you. We're going to get you back. We're going to get you back.
Look forward to it.
Really will. Thank you so much. You all, this has been our Wednesday night Real Women Rock Facebook chat. And we hope that you share this out. This has just been pure wisdom and experience. We started off talking about tobacco fields. Y'all don't know about the outhouse and the hanging clothes on the line. They don't know. Y'all got to go back, share this with somebody so that they can learn that it is not about where you begin. It counts. It's
where you end that counts.
It's in there, but really take whatever you don't use any of those past things, those humble beginnings, those mistakes, those trials, those tribulations. You don't use them as an excuse to keep you from moving forward. You move forward because it's the end that counts the most. Thank you again, and we will see you all next Wednesday.
And I just want to close by saying I wanted to know how Washington works. And I didn't mean just any kind of Washington. I wanted to know how it all worked.
Yeah.
How Washington works.
And I can see that in your postings, your writings in the corner of the Washington Informer and your radio show. I can see that you are helping us understand as you are understanding it, how it works. She is beautiful. I hope you go back and read the comments on our pages.
Okay.
You've gotten some wonderful comments and some thank yous. I have, wow. Yeah, wisdom. So please go back and listen. Thank you so much,
Dr. Trinace Richardson. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you as well.
And I'll have to have you as my guest, now that I know you.
You ain't said nothing but a word, Miss Grant. I'm
Okay,
right
I will
there.
schedule you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I look forward to talking with you soon.
All right. Bye.
All right. Y'all take care. Have a great night. Bye
Good
bye.
night.